other things and do education, but the Constitution is pretty clear. It is the paramount duty of the state. Well, let's do the paramount duty of the state. Let's get that done first, and not hold up K-12 education to other negotiations in the budget. Let's get it done. And if things need to be adjusted to make sure these other programs are funded, then we got to do that. But let's not hold up the K-12 budgeting process to those to the other state budget issues that are going on. And you know, it's not always about throwing more dollars at it. And I might be off here a little bit, but if you look at the state of Massachusetts, ranked #1 for education, they spend $15,000 per student. Okay, these numbers, and I got to do this quick. #1 in education in our state, depending on what you look at, we're $10,000 to $11,000 per student, and we're in the middle of the pack. Conversely, Colorado's at $8,000 and is second, and Alaska's $20,000 per student and is last.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Ray, please.
2/3 of our biennial budget are protected, even if you count our state constitution or federal requirements. That leaves 1/3 of the budget to day-to-day operations of our state. You look at, to cite Representative McEwen, $18 billion every 2 years to education, or $18 billion every year. That takes up that 1/3. So that is a fundamental question. What are we not going to fund? Are we not going to fund our low-income health care, our disability for seniors, Washington State Patrol? We have a number of priorities that people value differently. So I believe that while the fund education first, it's nice and it sounds good, I believe that it's very flawed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now we go to Dan. And before I ask you this question, I have just full disclosure. I work for Kids Up Mental Health Services. I am your moderator. I do not write any of the questions. Questions come strictly from the audience members. Next two questions have to do with mental health, which I happen to be something I'm concerned about, but I do not write the questions. So, from our audience member, mental health. First question is, how do you understand the scope of the problems?
So that is a very good question. I'm a professional firefighter, so I deal with the crisis and mental health issue firsthand. When somebody is having the crisis, I see it. And the scope of the problem is big. The reason it's big is a lot of times they are also using abusing other substances, be it drugs or alcohol. So to identify the full scope, we have to get to the underlying issue, through the underlying issue. Are they having mental health issues because they have a mental health problem, or do they have a drug addiction problem? So what we have to do is a two-phased approach. We have to address the drug dependency or alcohol dependency first to see if they improve in the mental health issue after that. But we can't fix the mental health component until we get down to the the crux of what's actually causing the mental health problem. I think I've talked to you about that in the past in my current position, and it's something that we can tackle and will tackle in the future.
Thank you, sir. And Drew.
It is a big problem, and handcuffing somebody to a gurney outside the ER certainly doesn't solve it. Doing flawed funding models where you just dump a bunch of money into Western State Hospital and they can't even implement it and end up reverting those dollars back to the state when you've got local organizations that desperately use it. That model doesn't work either. Putting people in prison and not treating those issues and letting them out after they've served their time and expecting them to be productive members of society doesn't work either. And so there's a litany of problems, and we've got to fix them. And unfortunately, this is an area that needs serious attention, much more attention than's been given. And we need to look at all sides on this and find the best way to do that. And so, there are issues at Western State that need to be addressed. There are local funding issues that we need to look at. We also need to look at how we handle prisoners, and certainly they've got to pay for their time, but we also need to treat the underlying costs.
Thank you, sir. Craig?
We talk about the root cause of a lot of our ills in our society: homelessness, substance abuse, population of prisons. All can be traced back to mental health. And I think we can all look within ourselves and realize we probably have a friend or a family member affected by mental health issues. This is not a problem out there. This is one that touches all of us. We need to put our funding back in there. We put so much into prisons, we put so much into public safety, we put so much into homelessness. We can fix a lot of these if we just realize mental health. It's not the top tier of our medical profession. It's not cardiology, it's not neuroscience, it doesn't get the glamour. But it affects all of us the same. And we need to treat it like that and put it back to the priority it is. We're under a contempt of court for not funding it. The state is not providing enough beds.
Thank you, sir. And the same question goes to you, Andrew, please.
I think we're all in agreement that this is a major issue. On a personal note, I had a student a few months ago where her whole family died because the stepfather was mentally unstable. And he killed all of the kids in the family, except for my student who escaped with her life, a 13-year-old student. So it's affected me personally as a teacher. I see this in my studio. I've seen this with my colleagues. But one thing that we haven't addressed is the dissatisfaction with many people that are mental health caregivers, people that are working within this community. They have very huge caseloads. They're underpaid. They're worn out. Child protection services. These people are doing heroes work, but they're underappreciated. So I think that we need to address the people that are actually working with mentally ill patients and support them as much as we can. And I feel that they have not been given the support. And that includes also elderly patients and members of our society that work with all aspects from young and old. So we need to support the people that are on the front lines with this.
Thank you. All right, next question goes to you, Drew. And it's another question regarding the mental health system. This question is, what, in practical terms, can the legislature, what in practical terms can the legislature do in the next session regarding mental health?
Let's drop the barriers to those funds that I referenced before, and we got to look at it holistically, both from the local level, going all the way up to the state level, and things like Western State. So, and you can kind of look at it in the same regards as education. We sit here and we put money at it, but we put all these strings on it, and at the local level, the implementation just doesn't quite make sense like the legislature thought it would. And so, we need to trust the professionals that are there. And have those conversations to what are the resources that are needed and come to that appropriate funding level and get out of the way and let them go to work and let's get this issue solved.
Thank you, sir. And Craig.
I just cite a local example because it's what I'm most familiar with here in the city of Bremerton. We do have what I say a significant issue with our mental health population. It is, I would venture to say, well over half to 3/4 of the call volume here for the Bremerton Fire Department, the Bremerton Police Department. We partner with kids at mental health, and we know these people. So we need to work together with our people that are involved. You know, our stockholders, our patients, our mental health groups, our community leaders, and say, what can we do that works? We need to get the legislature to start reprioritizing. Do we need this money going to homelessness, which is important, or can we get root cause and bring it back here? We have substance abuse issues. Can we redirect money and make it a holistic approach, a whole patient experience? You can't treat somebody who is homeless, who is under addiction. So we need to treat it as one problem, not just isolated.
I'm in agreement with these statements, but also the crux of the matter is if we fully fund education first, where is the money to support these mental health programs that we're talking about? It all sounds good talking about this, but you need money, you need an accurate system that's going to address these things firsthand. So, you know, the money has been depleted over the years, especially since the recession, for mentally ill patients and for the people that support them. So without that kind of backing, how are we going to turn this around? It's unrealistic. So look at the figures, look at the statistics, look at the rising mental health problems and homelessness in the state. If we don't address that, of course it's not going to be fixed, and it's not going to be fixed by saying fully funding education first.
Thank you. And Dan?
Well, we have made great strides in this area, in mental health. What we have to do is have local centers, and I call it the crisis centers. So for the first 7 days that when I see them as a professional firefighter, where do they go? I talked about before, we have to identify, is it an underlying mental health issue, or is it an underlying substance abuse issue? Or is it a combination of both? So we have to have the first 7-day centers, and I'm working very hard with Commissioner Terry Jeffries in Mason County. We don't have many of those beds. Kitsap County does, Thurston County does, but as far as the 35th district goes, Mason County doesn't. So I'm working with Terry Jeffries to see if we can get that first look center, so we're not taking these people that have substance abuse problems and take them to the ER. And time again, I'll see somebody that's on the street drunk, and it's laughable without pants on, it happens. We take them to the ER, they dry out, and then they just put them right back on the street, and as soon as they can find another 25 bucks, they're drunk again. We need to have those crisis intervention centers early. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question goes to Greg. We're going to change the focus a little bit. Greg, this question to you simply is statewide collective bargaining, a good idea or bad?
Well, I'm a fan of collective bargaining. As a union firefighter, I wholeheartedly believe in it. However, statewide, I do not believe it works. This goes back to the one-size-fits-all approach that our state likes to take. What is a livable wage in Bellevue, Issaquah school districts is not going to translate to the North Mason Pioneer school districts or even the Bremerton school district. We have very diverse areas within our state and very different economies. So going and saying we're going to do a statewide approach to how we pay our teachers is just creating another set of problems. We're going to end up with teachers all at one level, which is great in theory. However, it doesn't display the cost of living of where they live. And it doesn't also tackle the local issues that these local school districts face.
Thank you, sir. Irene, same question. Collective bargaining statewide.
Yes, I think Craig's right on this. I think that every district is different. When you think of teachers, for instance, in Seattle that have huge cost of living situations versus teachers that would live in this area, one size doesn't fit all. However, the power of numbers, the power of people that work together for the common good of their organization, for their jobs is a very important thing. I think that has been undermined quite a bit. We only have about 12% nationally now that belong to unions. And I think the union busting and the overall sentiment that unions are a bad thing is wrong. And I don't think that helps the working class. The working class have to have some vehicles of being able to fight for their rights and to fight for a living wage. And I believe that collective bargaining is a wonderful American right that we should protect and nurture. So I think you can look at it either way. And as far as the things that are from collective bargaining, there has to be some flexibility, but collective bargaining in itself is a good thing.
Thank you.
Collective bargaining statewide, I won't stand in the way of. But let's talk about what was brought up here, education. We have a problem in local rural school districts in being able to keep educators. Right now, if you go to a Seattle area school, you could get up to 75 to 80 days of trial pay. Our local schools can't afford to pay that. So if we're going to talk about equal education for every student in the state of Washington, we're going to have to deal with the issue that you can go up to, an educator can go up to the Seattle area and get paid almost twice as much as a local area teacher can get paid. We're losing teachers at an alarming rate in rural school districts, and I represent those rural school districts. It is time that we come up with a pay that does recognize that there is a cost of living issue with living in Seattle, but there also, we cannot lose by attrition our teachers in the rural communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And Drew, same question.
And people certainly have the right to collectively bargain, and clearly nobody here is standing in that way of that happening. And I'm proud to work with and have the endorsement of organizations like the Washington State Federation of Employees, the State Employees Union. You look at the corrections, and they certainly have a unique situation, and so yeah, we're certainly not going to be in the way of that, and I think that's I think we're pretty much on the same page with this. Thank you.
Very good. So our next question, again, to change the pace, I'm going to listen to Irene to lead us off. And the question is, what is your top transportation priority?
Well, especially since this campaign here this summer, I would say getting better roads in the 35th LD. I cannot believe that the roads here are so dangerous, so winding, so slow. And I can't believe it's gone on this long. I don't understand why our state legislators have not brought in money into the 35th. Look, even the Belfair bypass, look how that's dragged on and on and on, the kind of backups. We have backups from Belfair all the way into Bremerton. It's unbelievable. That ski-ack area there, why do we have a 2-lane road there? You know, we have terrible, terrible accidents in this area. How can we bring and attract business and industry into our district without good transportation? So one of my #1 priorities, we grab some of that money from the state and bring it into the 35th and enlarge and make our roads safer, better, and faster. So I'm very unhappy with the road system that we have in the 35th.
Thank you. And
And so my top priority would be, in writing our capital budget, the capital budget is actually for building and constructing things. Transferring a considerable amount of money that we do for land acquisition in Washington State to pay for local road improvements. We could, the Belfair bypass that Irene just mentioned has been an issue that we've talked about in the north end of Mason County for a long time. We could pay for that if we didn't spend $1.3 billion on land acquisition. So, and we could pay for a lot more projects in the rural communities. I will be pushing very hard for that and moving up the bypass to be funded now and funded in a sustainable way and get it built before 2025.
thank you, sir. And Drew.
I believe I also echo that the capital budget could be used a lot more effectively for some of these, relatively speaking, smaller local projects. Also, let's look at serious reform to the DOT. On average, it takes 10 years from conception until a shovel hits the ground for a project to get going. Whereas, let's take the Skagit River Bridge collapse, and we recognize the economic negative impact that had when that bridge went down. Normally in this state, we'd still be talking about how we're going to build a new bridge, what we're going to do, and we wouldn't see that bridge for 10, 12 years. What happened? There was a new bridge in place 6 months later because the state realized, oh, we got to get out of our own way and get this done and cut through the red tape. That should be the standard, not the exception. We need to go to that type of mentality, stop with redundant studies and the ongoing bureaucracy that we have within the DOT. And I'm not talking about the local rank and file worker. I'm talking about the higher level mismanagement that has occurred in DOT. And until we fix that, we're going to continue to see these problems with projects taking forever, being over time and over budget.
Thank you. And Greg, please.
How many of you have been stuck in Gorst, going north or south? Like I mentioned before, our burgeoning economy with our proximity to Seattle, that's only going to get worse. There's no real excuse that I can think of as to why the biggest metropolitan sector on the Olympic Peninsula is isolated like that. We talk about the Belfair bypass, and it's a great project. It's hard to, in my opinion, when our legislators who represent that area voted against it, to try to push it forward now. Now I understand it was a result of a gas tax, but in this state, we get nothing for nothing. We eliminated the motor vehicle excise tax for the $30 car tab fees. This is how we have to fund our roads. This is the decision the state of Washington has made in order to fund our transportation projects. So I'm being challenged on this, and I welcome it, but their record stands. Thank you.
Thank you. And the challenge mic goes to Drew for 1 minute, please.
Thanks. Yeah, I voted against the transportation package, so I'm not going to vote for more taxes and a system that's failing, as I referenced before. However, the Seattle Tunnel project, over budget, behind schedule, in the agreement, the city of Seattle is responsible for those cost overruns, not the state of Washington. And what happened, we stuck $65 million from the state into that project. I made an amendment on the floor of the House to stop that and put those funds to build the Belfair bypass. I did an amendment in the existing transportation budget to build the Belfair bypass. We could have done it without raising taxes, without raising weight fees, without raising other fees within transportation to build the Belfair bypass. Instead,
The majority chose to raise their taxes and raise their fees and continue as business as usual. So to suggest that not support the Belfair bypass is totally inaccurate when there were 3 different times on a floor amendment that we could have done it, we could have built it without raising the taxes and fees.
Thank you, sir. Craig, would you like a counter response? You get 1 minute.
Like I said, we've seen how our funding has gone in this state. We've talked about DOT reforms, and I'm not here to defend DOT. I mean, we can look at Highway 16 to see how a project can get messed up. However, what I can say is we've had our reforms in this state. The state of Washington decided we're not going to pay $600 a year for car tabs, and I agree with that. However, when you drop a $600 a year car tabs down to 30, and you don't find another vehicle to fund our projects, what's that left with? We have a unique state geography that requires a lot of roads, and that's a lot of miles, and that's expensive to pave. And now, as our area is growing, that growth from the east side is coming over here. We need to have the infrastructure. If we talk about jobs, we're not doing a very good job talking about jobs if we're not creating the infrastructure to bring those jobs here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that concludes our question and answer period that we have time for. Unfortunately, I can't get to the strategic questions such as your perceptions on our national presidential candidates, but someone asked that, but we'll say that for next time, folks. With that being said, we get to move into our 2-minute summaries, but I want to make sure I get you out of here on time as promised. So you get a 2-minute summary, and the yellow will go up in 20 seconds. We have 20 seconds left. Irene, I believe you started with us, so Dan, please begin your 2-minute summation.
Thank you so much for the Chamber for hosting this event. It is truly an honor and a privilege to serve as your state representative in the 35th District. I have a very robust agenda going into next session, and with your vote to send me back, I will be happy to champion all of those. I am a lifelong resident of this district. I am very passionate about the economic vitality and success of the district. I am really conscientious of the fact that our transportation needs, especially in the north end of Mason County, need to be addressed. But to say that I voted against a nearly $17 billion transportation package means I voted against the bypass is a false statement. The real statement is I worked with Drew on several funding measures to get it funded now, not in 2025. I voted against building the Belfair bypass in 2025. I voted against putting way more money outside of our district. So it's time that we bring back, through capital budget process, through other avenues, local infrastructure development as a top priority for the rural communities. And with your vote, I will be able to help you do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Drew, 2-minute summation, please.
Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate your being here and the opportunity to answer your questions. You know, as a business owner and with a couple of different companies, and you know, and seeing what that's like, and you talk about the economy in this state and how do we need to grow it, and having the responsibility of a couple of dozen employees, and sometimes you go late on your own payments to make sure that you met payroll, and you sweat the end of the quarter when you got to write the checks to ESD, to LNI, to the IRS, and you got to juggle those things. And as a member of this chamber, and I get that, and we need to, as a state, get out of the way for businesses to grow, for people to pursue the jobs they want to pursue, and in doing that, we can create a very strong and vital economy in the state, and solve a lot of the very questions that were brought up today. You know, one of those is tax reform. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, we need to slash taxes. Don't misinterpret that. It's that we need to lower the rates, broaden the base, and by doing that, we end up with a revenue system that's more fair, more consistent, more predictable. And that's one of the problems we've had in the state is some of these fluctuations when we have the economic occurrences that are going to happen throughout time. We need to make that more predictable so the state can better manage its resources that you, the taxpayers, have given us. We need to continue to work on K-12 education and finding what is that right method to fund, and also get out of the way of the local school districts, with the parents, the administrators, and the teachers, and let them do their job. We need to continue to look for ways to make state government work better for you. And that just kind of ties into all of that. And I look forward to continuing that work. I'm asking for your vote this November. And I just want to thank everyone that is up here. And you put your life on hold in a big way to run. And, so I want to just express that. We sometimes go at it a little bit, but this is part of the democratic process, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Craig.
Well, thank you, everybody. Can't go through this. This is a big chunk of our life, but we are all passionate about what we feel. I think in the first time in the history of the 35th, I can honestly say that I'm the candidate who has the deepest ties to each section. As stated in my opening statement, this is a very diverse district, each with its own opportunities and challenges. And having that experience, having the background in all three areas, I believe really positions me to represent this district well. We deserve the best, and we can have the best. Exceptional education for our children. A transportation network that moves good family wage jobs for all of us, and policies that protect our natural resources and promotes growth. If we can work together, that can be our future. I don't want to believe that. I believe that 35th is on the cusp of some amazing things, but we have to do it the right way, and we have to start working together again. We need to make Washington State politics different from Washington, D.C. politics. We're all neighbors. We're all friends. We know we may have some divides, but at the end of the day, we're Washingtonians, and we need to be respectful of that and run our state that way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Irene.
I think we're in agreement that we have many problems that we've discussed this morning. We have the education issue, we have mental health, we have transportation, we have development of business. I think that we need legislators that have the courage to face the facts, that do not use platitudes. I've doorbelled over 8,000 doors here this summer. And almost every situation where I talk to people, they want to say, yes, 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 I've heard about these problems, I agree with these problems, or they'll tell me what they think is the big problem. They say, how are you going to fix it? How? What are the steps that you are going to use to fix it as a legislator? Okay, number one is we have to face the facts. We can't just use quick little quips like our Donald Trump does all the time about this or that, all right? We have to say, look, these are problems. Revenue is a huge issue. We cannot fund these different things unless we address this. And we have to close these loopholes. We have to bring more money into the pot by things that have already been deemed unimportant, basically, for our state. These other issues are much more important. Educating our kids, much more important. Getting people off the streets, much more important. Why can't we face the facts on this? I don't understand it. So I feel very attached to this area. I'm a lifelong person here in the 35th. My family moved here in the 1930s. I've taught thousands of students. I'm running because I care about the future for our kids and for my elderly parents and for all of you here in this room. But we have to have the courage to say, look, this is not going to happen unless we make some hard decisions, popular or not. And I will do that for you if you vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that concludes our summary. I just want to quickly tell you that next week we have State Representative District 23, Position 1. If you want to know who the winners are that will be here next week, I'll just give you a clue. Their last names begin with A and the other one begins with B. That's all you're going to get. You got to come here and see. If you really want to see who they are, we will go through. But with that, in conclusion, we want to thank these candidates for their leadership and their efforts to go forward to represent us in the legislature. And now is your time to uncap that applause.